Welcome to the Conscious Living Podcast, conversations to educate, empower, and enlighten our world. An uplifting and inspiring series of conversations and talks with your host, Jackie Woodside. We are educating minds, empowering lives, and enlightening souls to create a world where love prevails. In this engaging podcast, we deliver exciting, positive, transformative talks and teachings designed to elevate your life. Now, let's join our host, Jackie Woodside, for this week's session.
Hi, everybody. This is Jackie Woodside, the host and the founder of the Conscious Living Podcast, where, as you know, week after week, we are here to educate, empower, and enlighten our world. You know, I love these conversations. I love being in a community of people that are really committed to thinking deeply about what does it mean to live life consciously. Am I conscious now? Was I conscious last night when I was angry at my son? Was I conscious this morning when I woke up with vertigo and the room was spinning and I was dreading having to get into my day? What makes us more conscious or less conscious? Because that is such a deep and profound and fundamental question, I am here with you week after week, bringing together thought leaders, coaches, authors, and experts, sharing their view, their little slice of what it means to live life consciously. So thank you for being with us today, because I have with me an extraordinarily interesting coach and colleague, Leslie Randolph, who her niche is really interesting. She says she works with teen girls, developing confidence in teen girls, and the teen girl that's still inside of all of us. I just love that notion. So Leslie, I'm going to turn it over to you. There's so much more you can say about yourself and your background, but welcome to the Conscious Living Podcast. If you wouldn't mind saying a bit more to introduce yourself to our listeners.
Jackie, thank you so much for having me. It is a pleasure to be here. You got it right. I am a self-confidence coach for teenage girls and the teenage girl that still exists in all of us, because chances are, like me, you did not have a confidence coach when you were a teenager.
Right, for sure. Boy, wouldn't that be a game changer, right?
Well, I hope to be that game changer.
Are that game changer, Leslie. I love what you're doing, and it's so important. So yeah, before we dive into what it is and how you do it, what led you to this path? How did you come on seeing this need for a confidence coach for teenage girls, and then the teenage girl that's still inside of all of us? I so resonate with that, right? Because on some level, do we ever grow up? I had lunch with a dear friend of mine right after her 70th birthday a little while ago. And I just leaned across the table and I said, I have to ask you, you don't feel 70, do you? And she's like, oh God, no. I was like, I know, I don't feel my age either. Like, how old do you feel? And she kind of thought, and she's like, I don't know, somewhere between 25 and 35. I was like, yeah. She says, and then on some days, like, I'm kind of a teenager. And, but so there's this way that I feel like in terms of our psychology or our ego, we don't really ever end up being old in our inner world, even though our body is doing whatever our body does. So
yeah.
How did you end up with this thought and this way of specializing in helping people with their confidence?
I love that story, and it speaks to it, because ultimately our brain is often still on that default teenage setting, unless we do the work that you do week after week and in your practice of living an intentional life, challenging that default setting that our brain is at, and striving to be more conscious and deliberate with the thoughts that we think and the actions we take out in the world in this one and only life of ours. So I had gotten started. I was introduced to coaching many years ago, right out of school. My first job, a prerequisite for working there was I had to go through a group coaching program. My life was forever changed for it. And I was 21 years old.
What a cool company. What company was that?
It is no longer a company, but it was a nonprofit organization. Okay. And it was just the CEO of it was very involved in this organization called Pathways.
Yeah, Pathways.
And he was a cheerleader for it. He now runs it. He's now one of the facilitators. Yeah. And he was my first boss out of school.
Wow, what a blessing. That's amazing.
beyond a blessing. On a very personal note, he ended up marrying me and my husband because of what an instrumental role he played in my life. And now this is, shame, 15 years later that this is the world that I'm living in. But I knew I wanted to be a coach. It took many years after that first foray into coaching for me to, challenge my default brain that told me, oh, that's not a real job. Oh, you can't do that. You can't make that work. I was a bit of a bully to me when, that little girl inside me said, that's what I want to be doing. And so
I have to pick up on that. I love what you just said. I was a bit of a bully to me. So I want our listeners to really take that in. I was a bit of a bully to me because I think I resonate so deeply with that. I never used that exact language, but to what degree are we bullying ourselves? Anyway, go on with your story. I'm sorry, but that was just too rich to step over.
But Jackie, now I have to jump on it. This is the beauty of these conversations, because this is one of the concepts that I teach my teenage girls. On that default setting of our mindset, we can very much be the bully who's just trying to keep you safe, who's trying to keep you from rejection and embarrassment, and is just really inducing that doubt and insecurity and anxiety within you. But we also have, on a very conscious level, a bestie brain.
Oh,
the
that's so
bestie
good.
brain is the one that's cheering you on. It's the way you would talk to your friend. So my bestie brain said, you want to go do that? Leslie, you'd be great at that. You would be so impactful. You would be such a gift to these young girls. But the bully said, oh no, you can't do that. So it was very much.
That's great language, the bestie brain and the bully brain. That's really great language for teenagers.
But it resonates for all of us, because you know how you'd talk to your best friend.
Yeah, of course. Not the way I talk to myself. Do you know what I have a similar analogy. Do you know what mine is?
Tell me.
You'll know you're practicing self-love when your inner dialogue is what it sounds like when you greet your dog when you come home at the end of the day.
Perfect.
Oh, there's my girl. Oh, you're so beautiful. Look at you. You're a good girl today. Oh, I love this little girl. When you're talking to yourself like that, you've mastered self-love. But most often, the dog gets a lot more kudos than our own self gets.
Very often, unless you're strengthening that very conscious muscle with frequency. And that's really what self-confidence is. It's a muscle, a mindset muscle. But I digress. So I did follow that call, and I went and got a coach certification so that I could, fill my toolkit to help people and to feel that credibility in this industry that I think is so important. And when I opened my business and said, here I go, I wasn't a confidence coach for teens. I was a general life coach that was just committed to helping people overcome their own obstacles in their life. Yeah. And in the time that I launched, I had the opportunity to coach humans at all ages and stages of life. And the age range was from 11 to 75.
Wow.
And I found that the universal pain point for everybody was a lack of self-confidence. It wore different names, right?
I'm not good enough. I'm not fill in the blank enough.
Yes.
Good enough, smart enough, educated enough, sexy enough, good looking enough, like whatever it is, I'm not fill in the blank enough is the universal, kind of default mode of how our psychology and our neurology functions.
Absolutely. But what if you follow the breadcrumbs of that? The solution is self-confidence. The solution is realizing you are enough, not because you are fill in the blank. I deal with a lot of the not enoughs in my business. It's not about that. It's about choosing to love and believe in you, just as you are, to seeing the unique gift that is you, one and only you in this world. And so rather than, dance around what I saw to be like, everyone's got this, I thought, man, what if I built a practice solely upon that? What if we talked about the elephant in the room, which is self-confidence and this lack of it showing up as anxiety and insecurity and doubt, and how that's standing in the way of people's dreams and standing in the way of that relationship with self that's so critical to going after your goals and dreams. And then I thought, because a lot of my older clients, were so set in their ways of believing, well, this is just how I am. This is just
Yeah.
how it is.
Yeah.
And it was a reprogramming of their belief systems and mindsets.
Mm-hmm.
And believe me, that work is so important. I do it every day. But it also inspired me to think, what would the world look like if our future generation just knew that they were worthy, just knew that they were enough, not because they are fill in the blank, but because they are who they are. And that's sort of the mission that drove me to say, I want to be a self-confidence coach for teenage girls. So no other teenager makes it to 30, 40, 75, questioning their worth.
So you've said some really interesting things. You said just choosing to have this, kind of positive view of yourself. And you and I both know it's not quite that simple as just making the choice. So let's unpack that a little bit, Leslie. What's your thoughts, your framework? How do you work with people around, if you will, making that choice and then making it again and then making it again? Because changing our neural pathways of how our habitual thought patterns are. And some of this, as I'm sure you know, is evolutionary. That the way the brain functions is not for our, thriving self-confidence. It's like, watch out because the bad guys are around every corner. The lion is in the trees, and the monkeys are in the bushes, and whatever. We are neurologically programmed for survival, which is, there's this ironic design flaw in my mind. It's this design flaw. Like, why are we programmed just to survive? I mean, I guess we had to, right? Or else we wouldn't be here. But we need to speed up our neurological and psychological evolution. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yes. So I challenge you a bit.
Yeah, I love that.
I think it is simple. I don't think it's easy.
Oh yeah, totally. I say that 100 times a day. It is very simple, which I think is sometimes why people discount it, because it really is as simple as making a different choice and creating different neural pathways for different inner dialogue. Being a self-coach, coaching yourself differently, a bestie brain rather than a bully brain.
And practicing it. I tease that, yes, our brain on its it's like your iPhone on its factory setting. I have updated my phone more than biology has updated our brains.
Right?
How unfortunate for us. But fortunately, we have the choice to live more consciously, to think more consciously, to be more deliberate in how we talk to ourselves, how we treat ourselves, and how we view ourselves. The thoughts that you think about you are a choice that you make, and one that, if you are aiming to cultivate self-confidence, you need to make with intention day after day. I love what you said, Jackie. It's so easy to just discount, the confidence coach that says, yeah, I want you to put a Post-it in your mirror telling you what you love about you and to read it every day. I mean, I always say, I can feel the collective eye roll from teenagers being like, you want me to do what?
Right.
But there is science to back it. We are creating new habits for that brain. We have to train our brain to focus on what will propel us versus what will paralyze us. Because if we stay in that factory setting, we're going to stay in the cave. Yeah. Life is scary out there.
Right. That is our factory setting. The factory setting is caveman brain, right?
Right. And but life doesn't exist in there.
Right. Our life doesn't exist in there any longer, but our brain is still kind of neurologically tied to that state. I love what you're talking about. And I love that you also resonate with how simple the principles are of creating behavior change, thought change, belief change, and how not easy it can be. So what are some of your approaches, Leslie, that you help people, kind of rewire, see themselves differently, come to that place? I love the other thing you said. This interests me. Not developing confidence because of that blank. I am blank enough. Oh, I am talented enough. I am educated enough. Not to try to fill in enough blanks, but just because of who you are. So I'd love to hear more about that notion, and then let's also talk about how you help people get there.
Yeah. So I think, we have to look at the pillars of what is self-confidence.
Okay.
And one of them is certainly to think highly of you, to see your gifts and your goodness and what is uniquely you about you. I said it before, I'll say it again. You are the only you in the world. Only you can bring to the world what is within you. That alone makes you amazing, but we don't take the time to focus on it. We don't take the time to celebrate those strengths. So I think thinking highly of yourself is a critical part of confidence. And I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. There is something very different about thinking highly of you than arrogance.
Okay. So distinguish that, because a lot of people would collapse those.
Yeah. And I believe me, I have clients who push back on me of, oh, that just makes me so cocky.
Right.
Or that just makes me so arrogant. And does it? Because arrogance is thinking that you're better than someone else. Self-confidence is seeing the goodness that is in you. We're not looking in anyone else's lane. We are looking inside. And that's so critical. That self-love component.
Great distinction.
Is really important. So to think highly of yourself, to trust yourself. If we think of anyone that we trust in our life, we know what to expect from them. It's like, I would follow that person anywhere. If you can bring to your mind's eye someone that you would trust, they just have this authority of like, yes, I will go where you will lead me. Mm-hmm. We need to bring that within ourselves. An easy way to do that is, goal setting. Okay. So I think goal setting is a playground for cultivating self-confidence. I'm sure we can talk about that more, but to say, I'm going to do this.
Okay.
And then follow through on it.
And then do that again.
And do that again and again. Easy ways to build self-trust. And I do this often with my clients. Waking up with your alarm. Like, you last night set that alarm for 6 a.m. Wake up with it.
You get yourself out of bed when you say you're going to.
It's an act of self-love. It's saying, I know what to expect from me. I said I was going to do this. I'm going to do this. And then on the contrary, it's noticing those people-pleasing tendencies. When you say yes and you want to say no, that really chips away at that self-trust part that if you look at any definition of self-confidence from Google to Wikipedia to Oxford, the word confidence comes from the word trust, to trust.
Confidant, a confidant.
It is so imperative that you trust yourself, especially because if you think, phase 1 of self-confidence is to think highly of you, how important it is to trust you when you're looking yourself in the mirror, reading that Post-it note saying, I got this. I can do it. I believe in you. If you don't trust you, those words are going to fall flat.
Right. So that must be some of the early work you have to do with people, is helping them recognize that self-trust also is a muscle that needs to be exercised and can change and grow.
Yeah, it is. And it is like, I always tease, it's that tiny muscle that we all are trying to get when we do our biceps or our triceps. It's that tiny one, because it's a very hard one. It's very easy to fall into those people-pleasing tendencies, sure. Especially if you think about those not enoughs. For women, it is so important to us to be liked. And so we often will say yes when our instinct is to say no, because we want that external validation versus that internal. I'd rather be disappointed with myself than them be disappointed with me. And it's being it's choosing your discomfort, right?
Right.
But choosing you.
Choosing you. Wow. I just feel like that is so hard in our culture, isn't it?
It is.
It's so hard. Wow, you've got your work cut out in front of you. So, just break that down a little bit. How do you help people choose you? Like, I know for myself, I have just kind of an interesting life where my son goes to a boarding school Monday through Friday, comes home Friday afternoons, and my spouse works in another city. So, usually, Sunday night, Monday morning. So Monday through Thursday, I live at home alone, me, the cat, and the dog. And my well-being practices are so amazing. And I eat so well. And I meditate every morning. And I just have this lovely little life rhythm. And then everybody comes home on the weekends. And I don't do the same things. I don't eat as healthy. I don't get as much exercise. I don't meditate in the mornings. So I'm clearly not choosing me. But then I feel these external, I guess I would call them demands or expectations. So how do you help people navigate that?
Well, I think and we won't coach you on this call,
No,
Jackie.
go
But
ahead, coach me. I think
I would ask you why. Why Monday through Thursday are you so committed to those practices, but then Friday through Sunday?
Yeah, well, I'm alone and I have the time. So when my spouse and my son are home, I feel like that's my commitment. You know, I want to have a big family breakfast. I want to get up. My spouse and I call them coffee dates. We have coffee dates first thing. It's the first thing we do. We get up and we make coffee and we sit on, each end of the couch and the dog hops up. I mean, it's really quite lovely. And we've been away from each other and it's before our son gets up. So that's kind of our little hutch of time to connect and be together. The food, I would say I'm just being lazy because my son has a horrible diet and I more gravitate toward his eating just because it probably feels better. So that I would say is a bit of ontological laziness for our listeners who might not know that phrase. It's lazy in managing how you're being in the world, ontological laziness. Anyway, but the first part feels like competing commitments. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's understanding your priorities and understanding, because from what I hear, and we could break it down into different ones. We could look at each one, right?
Right. So the third one is I don't go to the gym on weekends. And I even I play racquetball and play basketball. And I even tell my, kind of that community of friends, hey, weekends aren't great for me because I'm doing family things.
Right. So what I hear is actually you are still choosing you.
Oh, right.
In those moments.
So good, Leslie, I feel better already. Look at that. And I didn't even have to pay you for this. This is so great.
Well, I would help you find it for yourself, but for our listeners that might not get to stay for another 45 with us, truly that is what I hear. Yeah. I have this coffee morning with my husband. It's this opportunity for connection that I haven't had all week. I'm sure that fills your well-being bucket.
Oh, big time.
Just in a very different format.
Yeah.
Now, if there, and I also didn't hear any resentment from you of, well, I don't have the time, because we both know the same 24 hours that exist
through Thursday. They're still there. Yes. That's really helpful.
That you're making.
So rather than seeing, how it's lived for me is the phrase competing commitments, which has a rub or an angst to it. And what you said is I am choosing myself, just a different part of myself or a different priority, a different need set that's getting met. So that's really helpful, for me and for our listeners, I'm sure, because what I said isn't unique. We all have competing commitments. We all have different parts of ourselves that get met in different ways in different places. Some through meditation, some through being on the racquetball court, some through cuddling up on the couch, having a coffee date,
Right. And here, I'm going to take you to one of you said, how do I bring this to some of my clients? I developed this tool of the cha-cha-cha.
You're so funny. I love it.
And it is the confidence cha-cha-cha because it's a couple things. One, you can't say it without laughing. And sometimes we all just need to take a breath because we don't need to take it all so seriously.
Right.
You check in with the thought. Okay. So I would say, when you say it, and you acknowledged it so quickly, Jackie, that when I say the word competing commitments, how does it make you feel?
Right. There's an angst to it. Like, oh, I got to do this. I got to do this. So there's an angst to it.
Right. And now oftentimes when we hear that, like you've just decided that it is a competing commitment, that is a fact, that is what it is. But that's just a thought that's the label that you've assigned to it.
That's a belief. That's what I say to my clients. That's a belief.
It's a belief. And our beliefs are not facts.
Yeah, they're not facts.
So that's when we then check in. How does it make you feel? And then we challenge it.
Yeah.
Is it true?
Yeah.
It could the opposite be true? What is something else that could be true? We have holes in the story.
Right.
And then we already went there. We went to cha-cha-cha. choose something else to
Do
believe.
something else, right? Change it.
And that's, the option that we all have. So just like self-confidence, we can shift our perspective. And when we do, just even looking at it is like, yeah, this is actually a conscious decision I make every weekend. Coffee dates and foregoing the pickleball or the racquetball for time with my family. That angst is gone.
Gone, right? It actually feels good. It actually feels good. Leslie, you're not going to believe this. This is really wild. I love your cha-cha-cha. I teach the exact same thing. I call it the 3 C's, and mine is catch it, challenge it, and change it. So I know, right? Like yours is so much more fun than mine. But yeah, you're right. It is those 3 steps. And neurologically, it's important for people to realize that it's actually not helpful to just notice it and immediately try to change it. But that intermediary step of challenging your own thinking, recognizing that your current belief or current thought isn't the truth, it's just one that you've repeated over time, and that you can actually change it. So I love that you also, a lot of coaches don't put in that middle step. They're like, well, notice the thought and create a more a more empowering thought. But if you don't do that inner step, it's actually that implants the new belief more firmly.
It does. And I always find that like those old beliefs, remember those carnival games of the like Bop-a Mouse or Bop, I don't even remember what it was.
Whack-a-mole.
Whack-a-mole, thank you. They're gonna come right back up.
Yeah, they'll pop right back up, right.
And if we have taken the time to challenge it, it just makes that bestie brain rebuttal more ingrained in you of like, oh, how I talk to that bully brain. Right. We whack it back down.
So great. I love this. So is there anything else? Let me see. What have we covered? I just want to be sure we've covered the ways that you really help people. Let me just give us one more. The ways that you help people kind of think about and develop their self-esteem. You've given us so much already. Let's do one more and then we'll let people know how they can get in touch with you.
Awesome. So I started with the goal setting.
Yes.
And I think I want to dive a little bit deeper here into one of the things that will happen when you set a goal is you will kind of freak out. The bully brain is going to take the microphone and tell you all the things that will go wrong, all the reasons you can't do it, all the reasons you should go back into the cave. And I think something that needs to be acknowledged about self-confidence is that it is not a singular sensation, as they would say in Chorus Line. It does not exist in a silo. Doubt, anxiety, insecurity, these are emotions that are part of the human experience. Self-confidence means I'm not going to give them the keys to the car. Right. Self-confidence means I trust myself. I believe in myself. I love myself enough to feel this feeling, to feel this discomfort, but still keep going towards my dreams because that's what I would want for someone I love. And whether that's making it through the first day of school, which we know can be so challenging for our teens and young adults, to the first day on the job, to that first day launching your own business or recording that first podcast, as we go to live big, bold, beautiful lives, which is what we want for our daughters, for our sons, for all of us. There's going to be a lot of doubt and insecurity and all those feels that come when you do something new.
I love that self-confidence doesn't mean that all of those bad feelings go away. It means you have them in a different field, in the field of confidence rather than in the field of insecurity. And in the field of confidence, you just don't listen, you notice it, but you don't give it any power.
Right.
Don't give it any power. Oh, there it is again. I've been saying that since I was 12. There it is again.
We have a greatest hits album.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Can't you do any better than that? That's the same one you said last week. that one went through yesterday, Yeah, if you can just step back, laugh, lighten up. I love that you said that. Be a little bit lighter about your own inner world and inner experience. Recognize it's not you. So that's the thing I think is so harmful, that when you don't talk to other people about it or listen to podcasts like this or work with a coach, you really can get to that place of like, oh, what's the matter with me? What's the matter with me? Why do I feel so bad about myself? Yes, probably because fill in the blank. My parents said this, my teacher did this, my town was like this. whatever, I'm different in some way. We go down all of these psychological tunnels that are just not helpful.
Right. And alone in your mind, it's very hard to challenge those beliefs that they're not facts and that they're not truths.
Yes.
And I don't need to believe them.
Yeah, right. Alone in your mind is a dangerous place.
Unless you've cultivated it to be that you love the company you keep.
Right.
And ultimately that's what self-confidence is.
I say the untrained consciousness can be a dangerous place, but when you train your brain, you use your mind to train your brain, change your pathways, develop self-confidence, it can be a really nice ride.
Absolutely.
Leslie, this is great. You are a great podcast guest. How can all of those moms of teens or teens or those of us that still have a teen within get in touch with you if they want to do some further work or just hear more about you or maybe have you as a podcast guest?
Oh, Jackie, thank you so much. You can find me at confidencecoachforgirls.com. And like Jackie said, I coach the teen that still exists in all of us. That website will tell you about my approach. There are some free resources there for moms of teens that want to help their teen cultivate self-confidence. You can find me on social media as the Coach Chronicles.
Oh, cool.
And I also have a podcast where I share these lessons that I learned later in life that I wish I had known as a teen. And that's Why Didn't They Tell Us?
Why didn't they tell us? I love that. And have you written a book yet, Leslie?
I have not. I have not.
You have so much to say. So
I've got a long road ahead of me of doing this incredible work, and I really look forward to what comes next.
Absolutely. Well, it is delightful to be a collaborator with you, and I look forward to our future endeavors.
You and me both. Thanks so much, Jackie.